So here it is. This is where we got to, and I'd taken some videos of it, but it wasn't worth it. Overall, like the function of it, like I'm very happy with what I did and how I did it. I'm gonna keep the same plan, but I'm gonna do a better job. But let's start with the basics, right? Like I said, garbage in equals garbage out. So this is lumber. This is scrap lumber. Look how you can see how that's sitting. Like it's not sitting flush. So right there, like the warped lumber. I'm not sure. I need to measure this board again. Make sure it's actually square and true. Try to level it out a little bit. So I might be going and getting some more plywood to finish that off. Or I've got another sheet here. I'm going to use the truest one I can. This is a huge glaring thing for me, right? And this isn't even the worst part. I didn't measure these out that well. I just threw them in. I was in a hurry. This lumber is lumber I pulled out of it was like a ship, not a moving box, but like a container, like a Connex, right? We were using it for dunnage in there. It was free, but it was warped, and it was cheap lumber. I don't remember where we got it from, but it's been really soft. I don't think that's going to hold together, and it's not going to be a lasting product. Again, right here, didn't do a good job measuring those out. Like, honestly, I think I put those too high. I'm actually going to measure this. I'm going to build a jig, so that way I'm doing consistent holes every time. Pretty happy with this piano hinge, actually. That's working out really well. I want to make sure I got that mounted well, so that way that's not our problem. Let's keep moving around this thing. What do we got? Don't mind my old mountain bike there in the corner. Okay, going down this way, right? Lumber's cracked. It's going to fall apart while I'm up there on the hill. It's going to break at the worst possible time. And it's going to be the day that I'm on good gold, and it's going to ruin the moment. And then right here as well, right? Like, I tightened that too hard. Look how much that's actually like pressed in. It's just shoddy workmanship, right? Inside here, it's been interesting trying to figure this out, how I was going to mount this. I was using this old strip, and it keeps splitting and cracking open. It's too thin. I'm using too big of screws, whatever. It's not going to work. It's going to fall apart. And I don't want to do too thick of things because I want that air to flow in there, right? So it gets up in the riffles. These valves, I think I'm going to stay with this design. I'm going to cut these out a little bit better, but I might actually do smaller holes. Like take my hole saw and maybe do some wider, smaller holes, so that way it's not having to cover as much area. But I think that's going to work out okay. And then again, more of those strips. Like I'm actually fine with that. I took a staple gun, stapled that down. All that's been really sturdy. Same thing on this side. Like, yeah, screws are breaking off in there, right? I was using bad screws. This is splitting open. I didn't measure this out. Like, it's not consistent. And consistency is a huge part of the game. So that's where we are. And then, ultimately, I'll show you here how I put this down, like what I'm using to hold it down low. That's working out really great. But I put that in a spot. So this thing, I'll show you. Look how that's sitting. That is crooked, right? And when I put the legs on this, I'm either going to have to take my saw and I'm going to have to cut this lip off, or I'm going to have to make it square. I don't think cutting the lip off is the right thing. If this thing is crooked, because this is the base of our box, everything else is going to be crooked. So I need to build that and make it as straight as possible and make it quality. But with that, where I put those boards in, see how it's sitting on there? And then in true me fashion, being in a hurry to fix things, I took my Sawzall to this, tried to cut that out so that way when this came up right here, it wouldn't catch. Well, it's going to ruin my fabric. That stuff's going to wear out with time. I'm going to have to replace it. I'd rather replace it because it's finally just old and worn out. Like, it's not early. So, like I said, like redoing things, right? I'm going to take my saw, and I'm going to cut a bevel in these anyways. But I'm not going to use that heavy wood either. Actually, I went down to the recycling yard today, a little Pacific Steel action. I got these aluminum strips, right? I'm going to measure these out. I'm going to cut some, going to drill some holes in them, but it's going to be uniform. And that's what I'm going for, a nice, uniform, light, working product. So I'm not quite sure. I need to take a good look at this plywood. Not sure if that's going to stay. Because also, too, I try to make things kind of uniform on the bottom because who sees it? But also, like, this is my work. I'm putting it out there on the internet. I want to look good. I want people to know that I tried and actually put effort into this. So I might be using this other sheet over here. Like I said, I got to do some measuring, figure out if this is a good sheet. It's got a little bit of warp to it, but where it's warped isn't places it's going to matter. As long as, because there's going to be a bit of a gap right here. There always is. As long as that warp is on the gap side, it's going to be fine. At least in theory. We will see when things happen, but like with things being crooked and wrong, like this is part of my riffle tray box, or the part of my riffle tray, that's not going to fit on there correctly. I'm just going to keep having compounding issues off of this one piece. So we're going to take the high road on this one, and we're going to start over because it's the right thing to do. So yeah, that's where we're at. Like I said, it's not good workmanship. I got good lumber now. I'm going to actually spend the time being a craftsman and doing work and making a good product. It's funny, I was actually up in Montana where I was working on some of this stuff, and my dad's a really nice guy. I could tell he was thinking about it. He never said anything to me. That kind of stung a little bit because when we were farming, we did some pretty janky projects, right? Because it just had to get done. This isn't a janky project. So we're going to start over. Time to eat a little humble pie. Time to rethink some things. It's okay, though. We're still having fun. We're going to build a quality product. So please stay tuned, bear with me, and we'll see you somewhere else. Thanks for tuning in.